Hello and welcome to ACC-OC's The City Square. I'm Stephanie Kloppenstein, and this is the show that brings us together to discuss smart policy solutions and improve the quality of life across Orange County. I'm your host today, and I am so excited to be here on scene, really, on location at Disneyland.
Where are we?
With the president of Disneyland, Ken Potrock. Thank you so much for having us in your offices today. What a special pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's really our pleasure, our privilege. And by the way, it's a lot of fun. This is a kind of a fun place to be.
I can see that. Absolutely. And I know myself, I've been a pass holder on and off all my life. I love Disneyland. My daughter and I are magic key holders and spend quite a bit of time here at the resort. And a little known fact about me, I actually worked at Disneyland 2 different times in my life. I worked with Radio Disney for a time.
Really?
Yes. And then I also was able to don the plaid skirt at one point in time as
well.
So I have my little name tag.
So
I should have brought it.
Chops.
Okay,
we give you great street cred around here.
Thank you. Yeah, both behind the scenes and in the park.
Good for you.
We love Disneyland and appreciate all you're doing. Thank you so much.
Very kind.
Well, we want to dive right in if we can. And I think first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit to our listeners about your role at Disneyland as president.
Well, I've been here a little over 3 years. I had spent about 25 years in Orlando at the Walt Disney World site with a variety of different jobs, and then was asked to come here to Disneyland. The thread for me was all the different roles that I've had have typically been either under-optimized businesses or broken businesses.
Okay.
And when I got the call to come run the Disneyland Resort, it was right after we had closed for the pandemic. So you want to talk about a broken business?
Oh my gosh.
This was the place.
Yes.
And we were going through, the horror of not just being closed and the business issues, but the horror of having 30,000 plus people, not working.
Absolutely.
And all the impacts that has and the emotional impacts that has was really telling on us. And we fought and fought and fought to get this resort back up and operating as quickly as we could. Unfortunately, it took 14 months.
I know, but once it was open again, what a special time that was. I remember that, and it was so wonderful to see Disneyland back up and running again.
Yeah, Stephanie, I would tell you, if you asked me one of my fondest moments, or maybe my fondest moment, it was that day when we opened up the Disneyland Park, and we were there ready to, tell people thank you, thanks for hanging in.
Yes.
Thanks for being patient. And they were thanking us, which was like, it brought me to tears.
I remember seeing on the news your cast members lining Main Street with their Mickey hands on, high-fiving everyone.
I was there.
People crying. Yes. I mean, it was a really emotional moment. I think when Disneyland had to close during the pandemic, it really brought just a deep level of sorrow, I think.
Yeah.
The happiest place on earth isn't open. It was a historic moment. So.
Well, I think it speaks to, uniquely here, I think it speaks to how embedded the Disneyland experience and culture is into the DNA of people here in California.
I absolutely agree. And as someone that's lived in Garden Grove and in this area all my life, Disneyland has been woven through my childhood since the beginning. So yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into Disneyland Forward.
Sure.
Obviously, everybody hears so much about that. Can you tell our listeners a little bit of just an overview of that project?
Well, Stephanie, you know this about the company, and so we're all storytellers. Mm-hmm. And so I'll do it in the form of a story for you. As we began to think about the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, one of the real challenges for us is what were we going to be when we come out the other side? And when I got the job initially, I honestly was hesitant to accept the job because at the time, Disneyland wasn't yet closed and they were talking to me about it. And it felt like it was running incredibly well. And I don't do running incredibly well businesses. I do,
right.
businesses that have some opportunities. And once the pandemic hit, we began to say, well, what could it be when it grows up again? And one of the things that I was under the impression of was that Disneyland was landlocked, that there was not opportunity for Disneyland to really expand. And that couldn't be, and I found this out, couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
We're not landlocked, we're entitlement locked, which is really a real estate development term that speaks to the rights that we have to do things on our land. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot less flexibility built into the contract that was negotiated 30 years ago than what we would want to do today because all of the properties that we're building around the world are integrated properties. They have hotels integrated with theme park, integrated with retail, dining, and entertainment. And here, we were not allowed to do that. So a big part of the entitlement package was, if we had flexibility, would we be able to expand? And what we found out was, with flexibility, we could expand by upwards of 50%, which is an extraordinary opportunity. That's when it got really exciting.
That's very exciting. So last September, Disney disclosed in a SEC filing that it planned to spend $60 billion. It's a lot of money over the next decade to expand its park divisions and its cruise line. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's going to come back to Anaheim?
Well, I think the timing of the entitlement discussion that we had and the announcement that you just referenced was I'm going to call it lucky, but at the same time, I think maybe it was synergistic. And the idea was, okay, we can grow. And at the same time, the company was looking at the parks division and saying, how can we amplify growth? How can we turbocharge growth? And so they made that $60 million announcement. We wanted to make sure that we were going to get more than our fair share of that. The problem was we didn't have this entitlement plan locked and loaded. And so I'm excited to be able to say, I believe we can get more than our fair share, but it is most definitely predicated on getting Disneyland Forward approved.
Absolutely. So in 1996, Disneyland was before the city of Anaheim for the creation of the resort district, and the original development agreement was built with the Disneyland California Adventure Park, the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa, Downtown Disney, which is always so fun. How is the Disneyland Forward project different, and why do you think it is needed?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would tell you that it's different. I think it's the next step in the evolution.
Okay.
What I am incredibly bullish about is the fact that in 96, we had that agreement. In 2001, all that stuff began to open. Mm-hmm. And what we saw in 2001 was an incredible bump in both revenue for us and revenue for Anaheim and the state.
Yes.
Anaheim, Orange County, and the state.
Yes.
And we see it, you can track it. And you will see, we've been really consistent over the last 25 years in terms of growing every year, with the exception of the pandemic years. But every time we had that big investment, the one you just referenced, or Galaxy's Edge, or Avengers Campus, or again, what we will hopefully do with Disneyland Forward, you see a big jump higher. And then it maintains and builds from there. So it's incredibly vital to have new news, new capacity, a fresh thing to talk about. And then when we do that, not only do people want to come and they want to come back and they want to tell a friend, but we start drawing people from even further afield.
Absolutely.
And
all
now,
over the world.
Now all the economic engine stuff really begins to hum.
That's fantastic. How is the Disneyland Resort engaged with the local community? I've seen a lot of pop-ups in the park and so forth. And how does, with stakeholders in the community also revolving around this project?
Yeah, it's such a great question. Again, going back to the DNA and being rooted in the community here, we've been here 70 years. And I would tell you that I believe, we are part of the fabric of the community and quite honestly, part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
So as you begin to think about what we bring to the table, it is so layered in so many different ways. So for sure, we are an economic engine. And we'll come back and we'll talk about, the economic engine and what it does for Anaheim, the region, Orange County, the state, and even beyond.
Definitely.
But beyond that, you start to think about sort of the things that go along with that. One, job creation. What a great opportunity for us to be able to create new jobs. And with Disneyland Forward as an example, just the first investment that we've committed to, which is $1.9 billion, generates 14,000 new jobs.
It's incredible.
Now, that's so important.
Yes, it is.
Because if you look at California right now, the latest ranking on job creation was that California was ranked 51.
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
Now, by the way, there's only 50 states. So District of Columbia is even beating California. So the fact that we think we can bring 14,000 jobs here, both operational jobs and union construction jobs, that's a very exciting premise. And then you go beyond that. What do we do in the community, relative to philanthropy and altruism? What do we do in the community in terms of workforce development? What do we do in the community in terms of our cast members developing their talent, providing them free education so that they can, better themselves and better their career earnings and their journey? That all becomes part of what we do here in the community.
You guys give back a lot. I know your volunteers program and so forth. And we want people to work, play, and stay right here, right?
But interestingly, it's not just, we have 35,000 cast members.
It's a lot.
Okay. But the ripple effect of that, hotels beyond our own hotels.
Oh, yes.
The vendors that supply us, the restaurants in the neighborhood. I mean, it is upwards of 90,000 people that have their employment tied to the economic engine that is the Disneyland Resort.
And getting people an opportunity for higher education, too.
Which is amazing.
Which is absolutely amazing. Some of these people, their parents, nobody in their family had ever had the opportunity to go to college before, and now they have that opportunity.
By the way, that was me.
Was it?
So, I was the first one, and very excited about the fact that we can create those opportunities for so many other people.
Fantastic. So the city of Anaheim announced an unprecedented package of community benefits for residents as part of the Disneyland Forward project. Can you tell us a little bit more about Disney's commitment?
Yeah, I mean, it's multifaceted. And I would tell you that the Anaheim city staff negotiated with us hard for a year. So this went back and forth and back and forth. And
I know how that goes.
Back and forth, and I can keep going on the back and forths. But where we settled was on a couple of cornerstone commitments. One was, within the first year, we've committed to investing $1.9 billion into incremental new revenue-producing assets. So think hotels and theme parks.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think parking garages, or don't think, back of house. It is truly things that generate revenue, and by extension, tax revenue for the city, the state, and beyond. So the $1.9 billion was the first component of that. The second component of that was job creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the commitment and part of the conversation with that level of investment, it was the 14,000 jobs. And again, we're very proud of the fact that, the minimum wage here is $19.90 an hour. More than half of our skilled labor is $25 or more. And that's really, really powerful.
It is.
And then you add that to the benefits package that we bring to the table. It's a good place for many people where this is an early job entry point.
Correct.
As they begin to think through it. So job creation, and really fair and rewarding job creation, became a big part of this. The third one was something that, quite honestly, every community, and every community is struggling with, which is affordable housing.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in California.
Definitely.
Orange
County.
In Orange County. It's a real challenge. So we made a commitment, an unencumbered commitment of $30 million to affordable housing, to be managed by the city of Anaheim and doled out however they want to do it, whether that's rental assistance to get somebody into an apartment, whether that's down payment, whether that's last mile financing, whether that's building facilities. We don't have much to do with that.
That's incredible.
Other than stroking the check. So $30 million, I thought that was great. The city staff came back and said, okay, that's great, but we want something that benefits everyone.
Okay.
And so what could that be? And so the Parks Department started raising their hand, saying, well, parks are free. Everybody can go into a park. Let's better the parks. So we went round and round.
What's better than quality of life, right?
Exactly. And so we went round and round and said, okay, great, we'll make an $8 million commitment, which, by the way, is equivalent to a one-year budget for the Anaheim Parks Department.
Wow.
So great, they get to double their budget, begin to do things with that as they deem appropriate. We committed to workforce development, and we've been doing that for years and years. But the commitment to continue to do it and to continue to invest behind it is really important. And so workforce development became, an important part of this. And then there's so many more, but one more worth noting is we also made an $85 million commitment to transportation infrastructure.
Always needed.
Safety is important. we worry all the time about how do we make this a safer place.
Mm-hmm.
Transportation plays a big role. We've had lots of conversations with city staff and residents, et cetera. This isn't a one-time thing.
Right.
We look at this as, okay, this is great, and we'll negotiate this deal together. But we've been here for 70 years, and we plan on being here for a lot more. And even the deal we've struck or are striking is a 40-year deal.
Right.
And so the thought process becomes, how do we continue to do more together? And it's not just predicated on what does this deal look like. There's so much more to come that one you could maybe envision, but for sure you can't envision. And that's super exciting.
It's a historic partnership for sure. We've touched upon this a bit, but looking at economic development and tourism, and I know in Garden Grove particularly how fortunate we are to basically be right next door to Disneyland. We have a bustling and very robust tourism corridor along harbor as well, and benefit greatly from the TOT revenue to our general fund every year. So ACC-OC is a regional organization of cities. And so why should, I feel like this project, when we're looking at surrounding local governments, why should they be excited about this project?
Yeah, so, we think about Disneyland, I'm going to call it the next chapter of Disneyland in some sort of unique and evolving ways. One way that we begin to think about it is it began as kind of a Southern California property.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the attendance came from. And it was a one-day park and, a regional theme park. We have evolved more and more into a destination.
Yes, absolutely.
And a big part of that is we want to continue evolving into that destination such that it's not just Californians, it's not just the Western U.S. We think it's the United States. We think it's international markets. We think this is a place that people want to come to and spend time here. Maybe not all at Disneyland, because there's so many other things to do up and down the state, but that's incredibly exciting. And so if they begin to stay here longer, now all of a sudden, think about the ripple effects. Think about, there were hotels and people were staying 2, 3, 4 nights.
Right.
What does that do from a tax rev perspective? Think about the restaurateurs. What does that do for them as they're attracting visitors from all over the world to come into the marketplace? Think about the job creation that's happening, because I saw a stat recently that 1 in 7 of our cast members are from Anaheim. And then there's a big percentage of cast members that are from Garden Grove.
Yeah, there are.
Which is really amazing. And so the ecosystem we're trying to create is great jobs, affordable housing, great perks, a chance to advance in your career so that you stay.
Exactly.
Live, work, play, kind of scenario. And I think that's the ripple effect for communities, in particular, communities that are right on the border.
Yes,
of
we're very
Anaheim.
fortunate to be right on that border. So speaking of that regional impact, you are the largest single-site employer in California and the largest private employer in Orange County. What is the secret, do you think, to attracting and retaining such a large workforce? And I know we've talked about so many of these programs, but if there's anything else you can touch upon.
Well, we use a terminology here a lot to be the workplace of choice. And there's a lot that goes into that. And it's really funny. I'll give you a couple stats and then I'll give you details to your question. When we came back from the pandemic, we were hiring tens of thousands of people. At that point in time, we were 1 candidate for 1 job kind of ratio. Okay? It evolved over the course of the last couple of years to 4 candidates per 1 job. Most recently, it's 9 candidates for 1
That's
job
incredible growth.
here at Disneyland. And that begins to talk about being that employer of choice.
Right.
Because the people want to come here, and they want to come here for a reason. And we know wages is part of it, and hence we have been making great progress from a wage perspective. The college thing is part of it.
Absolutely.
I was talking to, I was walking one of the Anaheim neighborhoods recently, and I was talking to a mother who I said, so what are your kids doing out of high school? When they get out of high school, she goes, well, I need to send them to college, but I'm worried about that. I go, why aren't they coming to work for Disney?
Absolutely.
We pay for college.
Yeah.
And she
was probably floored.
What? And so she started talking to her kids, immediately after. So I think that becomes part of this cycle. I think, the opportunity for living a good life here and having not just a job. Anybody can have a job, but to have a career path is extraordinarily exciting. We have seen almost 2,000 of our cast members that were in the Aspire program get promoted.
I love that. And that's such a great culture within the organization, right?
Yeah.
To be able to see that growth and to see people move throughout.
And then by the way, it's not the worst thing to go to a cocktail reception. And when somebody says, what do you do? Well, I work at Disney. That's an instantaneous.
You got a lot to talk about.
Wow, I love Disney. Let me tell you what,
Definitely.
So I think there's that. And we obviously have lots of perks for our cast members, for them to see, get into the parks for free, to see special entertainment, it's just a wonderful culture.
It is. And you take care of your employees here. And that was always, I remember that being so much fun, to be able to have those cast member perks and experiences, and to be able to bring my family in. To be able to experience that with me. It's very special. And culture is really everything. And that's how you get the longevity, and you have people stay. And that builds that tacit knowledge and institutional knowledge that then you can use within your organization.
Stephanie, you see it. We have we've been here 70 years. We have a lot of cast members that are 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 40-year, 50-year.
That says a lot.
Cast members. So the staying power is incredibly important. The real opportunity, though, is that 9-to-1 figure that I told you. A lot of people want to come to work here. If we can create more jobs, we then have the ability to fulfill that desire. And that's really exciting for us.
It absolutely is. We could probably sit here and talk for 4 hours plus. I could just talk about how much I love Disneyland all day, but
Me too, by the way.
I'm so grateful for the time today to be able to hear from you and hear all about Disneyland Forward, and really what a historic project this is for not only Disneyland and your resort, for Anaheim, for Orange County, but for all of California.
Yeah.
So it's really quite exciting, and I really appreciate your time today.
We've been using, we have lots of lexicon here that we use, but one of the things is we believe very truly that this is a legacy project.
Absolutely.
This will be writing the next chapter of Disneyland. And to be able to say that, we're a 70-year-old or 70-year young business, and our best days are yet ahead, is really saying something.
It's magical. Thank you so much for joining the City Square today. I really appreciate your time. And hold on just a second. We'll be right back with Chris Murray, our Executive Director. She's going to give us our Policy Pulse updates. Stay tuned.
Disneyland Forward means a lot to Anaheim.
It means thousands of construction jobs and permanent jobs.
It'll mean millions for city parks. The closure of Magic Way will benefit all of Anaheim residents with reduced traffic and more safety.
When Disney invests in Disneyland Resort, my business grows, Anaheim grows.
Making the park even better also means more jobs and tax revenue for the city.
That's why I like Disneyland Forward.
Join us.
Welcome back to the City Square. I'm your host, Stephanie Kloppenstein, and with me is Ken Potrock, President of Disneyland Resort. And joining us now is Chris Murray, our Executive Director of ACC-OC. And Chris, what do you have for us today with the Policy Pulse?
Well, I'm excited to share with you so much positive, so many positive activities are happening all at once right now. So I'm going to try to give you a nice snapshot of everything.
Let's do it.
This podcast is where OC comes to connect, and Disneyland is where families come to connect and make special memories. So
look at you talking synergy.
It's
nice.
Excited to give the Policy Pulse from this incredible place.
Okay.
So thank you for hosting us today.
Of course.
So first I want to kick off, because we just got back, April 8th and 9th this week. It's been busy. Our annual advocacy program in Sacramento. It went very well. We had a sold-out program for the first time, I think, maybe ever. Over 40 officials, city officials came with us to really talk and in depth with our legislative leadership, administration officials, agency officials on the key issues that are affecting our communities in Orange County. And those are housing and transportation, water, energy, and really making sure, because it is a very tough fiscal year for Sacramento and the state, that we're protecting local sources of revenue, because a lot of these services that our residents depend upon are, provided at the local level. So really great discussions. One in particular I'd like to highlight that the California Housing Finance Administration shared with us is the Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loan Program. So we got a good in-depth overview on that, and it's open right now. It provides down payment assistance for first-time home buyers The application is open right now, and you can apply. Anybody is eligible as a first-time home buyer for that first-time down payment assistance, and you can get more details at the Cal FHA website or through your home lender that you're working with.
It's an amazing opportunity. There's so many people in
program, and so many people don't know about it. So they've actually asked us to help get the word out. So we're going to push this out. One of the things we do when we come back from these big programs is provide the metrics and the value of the program and what those takeaways and action items are. So as part of our wrap-up report that will go out to all of our cities and also will be posted on our website, will be that report with all these details.
It's also a lovely way to get past the barrier, because lots of people are going, I can't come up with first and last month's rent or whatever the requirement is.
Or
closing costs. How do I do that? Yeah. And so I'm just not going to engage. Right. And if they can be helped in that particular area, then engagement can go up.
And there's even a special subset of allocation for those who are first generation Americans and citizens that are trying to get their first home purchase as well. So great program, and I hope everyone will check it out. The other that we've got coming up, and again, it's been all about the comeback year for ACC-OC.
It's been a big year.
It's been a big year, and one of the things we're wanting to do is bring back our Golden Hub of Innovation Awards, where we recognize the incredible work that happens in Orange County cities. In so many ways, our cities, our agencies, our nonprofits, our businesses are literally setting the bar for how to do things in an innovative way.
And so many unsung heroes.
So many
unsung heroes. They deserve to be
want
seen.
This recognition, and we want people to be recognized for their good work. So that event, it will be part of our leadership forum on May 8th at the Grand Hyatt in the beautiful city of Garden Grove.
Yep, right in Garden Grove.
Right next door. And we will also install our incoming board of directors, and you will be staying on as our board president.
I feel so honored to be able to stay on for a little bit longer.
We really appreciate that. And then we will move into the Golden Hub of Innovation Awards and have a dinner. But just to really touch really quickly on the different areas where people can be nominated, and really hope people will go online and nominate those great people and individuals and organizations that are doing this good work. But the subject areas are technology-driven governance and excellence, collaborative community development and innovation, community safety and resilience, environmental sustainability and energy efficiency, transportation innovation and mobility solutions, and then we have ACC-OC Innovator of the Year, our City Staff Leader of the Year, City Manager of the Year, First Responder of the Year, because we want to make sure those incredible individuals are recognized, and then for the first year ever, we're going to have a legacy award that'll be chosen by our Judge's Choice by our board.
Chris, I also think it's neat that, acknowledging those people, those organizations, those businesses is somewhat of a North Star, right? And people look to that and aspire and say, you know what? We're done playing defense. We're playing offense. And where, from a vision perspective, can we take this community?
I love that.
I think that's exciting.
That's so true. And then last, I just want to conclude with, a big focus is making sure that our officials have the information and data and knowledge to make informed decisions on behalf of their community. So one of those great programs we've started over the last year is called Better Learning Opportunity Tours, where we bring our electeds and our community leaders and our affiliate members, which are educators and businesses and nonprofit leaders. We bring them on site to see water projects, to see strategy projects.
They've been really successful too. People love to touch it, feel
40,
it, see
50,
it.
60 people coming to these now. When we went out to San Onofre and had a decommission tour, people stayed for 3 hours?
Long. And
I joke all the time. I think I learned more about physics on that tour than my 12 years of K-12 education. But it was super informative. But we also, our water districts are hosting us. Our utilities are hosting us. We're doing more in the field of economic development and tourism because it's absolutely essential to jobs in our region, in our county. So I hope everyone will check those out and join us. We've got quite a lineup this year. And again, at ACC-OC.org is where you can go for more information.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your Policy Pulse update. And I think that's all the time we have for today. Ken, thank you so much. Pinch me. I can't believe I'm in your office having the opportunity to interview you and learn so much about Disneyland Forward and everything going on at the Disneyland Resort. And if people are curious to learn more about Disneyland Forward, where can they look for that information?
Well, it's pretty simple, DisneylandForward.com. And I'll thank both of you guys for helping provide us with a platform to get the word out, because this is incredibly exciting. But we want really the entire community to feel the momentum that's building here, because the benefits will spread to the whole community.
Absolutely.
So, very exciting time.
Thank you so much. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the City Square podcast as well. And to learn more or to become a sponsor, you can also go to our podcast page and check out all of our sponsorship opportunities. And don't miss our next episode, which is going to be fantastic as well, where we will have the latest updates on OCTA's upcoming projects with special guest CEO Daryl Johnson. So until next time, thank you all so very much for tuning in to the City Square.